Thanks so much for being here for our first Stress is Gone show. I'm very excited to be with you. Um, Today's topic is how to release the roots of anxiety. And this is a very important topic to me. Um, Today, we're going to discuss the technique that I developed at the beginning of the pandemic for frontline workers, first responders, and it's called the anxiety release technique. And I'm really happy to share that with you today. I want you to use that technique this day forward for the rest of your life, right? Because anytime anxiety starts to build up, that's when it gets really dangerous. And this technique is kind of like venting a teapot. When the water gets really hot and it's starting to whistle, right? That's setting the alarm off, right? In your body, that's your heart rate, or you just feel the anxiety overwhelming. And this technique literally is like just pressing the button on that teapot and just venting it. So I really want you guys to master it, right? Take it on, practice it, teach it to your family. You deserve to have it. And the best part of all, it's natural, right? Doesn't cost any money to use it. So I want you to get really good at it. Often when I talk about stress, I use the analogy of a garden, right? And the garden is our life. The weeds that pop up are stress types, right? Whether it's financial stress or stress from the pandemic, could be stress within the family, having younger kids at home, homeschooling, job stress, whatever it is. Those are the weeds that pop up, right? And I talk about going down deep, going down the rabbit hole, getting to the root of the weed and gently pulling it up. Well, anxiety is a little bit different. Anxiety is more like poison ivy. So poison ivy, how does it grow, right? It grows up, but it also grows out, right? So anxiety can pop up. Anxiety and poison ivy can pop up anywhere, right? It attaches to things and it's difficult to work with. And it could be overwhelming. It could overtake things, right? So that's very important to understand that how anxiety can grow out and up, pop up anywhere, attach to anything, and can get unmanageable, okay? But if you think about it, no matter how big the poison ivy, vein is and how complicated it is going around trees or bushes or whatever, all you got to do is trace that line down to the core root of where it came from. And once you get down there, digging deep, pulling it out just like it's a weed, okay? And that's how you take care of the poison ivy in your garden. And then you have that space to plant a seed of what you want, right? The fruits of life, the vegetables, the positive things that you want, you put in that space to let that germinate and grow and blossom. Okay, so now I want to discuss a little bit of a cycle, okay? The way I see it over the past few decades working with stress, anxiety, depression, things tend to start with stress, right? And when it goes unchecked, it kind of transforms into anxiety, okay? Anxiety builds and accumulates. And if it transforms, it can go into depression, all right? So I just want to break that down a little bit. How does it go from stress to anxiety? Well, if you have stress and you're just trying to push through it, maybe you're ignoring it, you're not getting to the roots of it, you're not processing it, you're not expressing your feelings, you don't have a really good outlet for it. It just builds and builds and builds and builds. So over time, stress accumulates, you become over-triggered, and that's when anxiety happens. Anxiety to me is just kind of like this constant state of stress where you're not even sure where it's coming from, okay? Because it's built up from possibly a few sources, okay? Or one really big fear, right? That's typically connected to a previous experience that is fueling all the anxiety. Typically something in your everyday life is triggering on a past time that you had a lot of stress or anxiety or fear or emotion, and you never really talked that through or processed that. So that's how the dots connect there between the past and the present. what I found is if you actually go back to the past, heal it, it's easier to move forward in the present moment and get through those blocks of anxiety and stress. And that's where the coaching programs come in and the retreats and workshops. So now moving forward with the anxiety, let's say we're in a state of anxiety and we're not getting to the root of it, right? We're not tracing that poison ivy vein down to the root. That takes a lot of focus, some time, energy, and technique, right? You got to pay attention. You got to bring all your attention to following the trail and then digging down deep and doing that tough, dirty work to gently pull up the root, right? And heal the source. So if anxiety is left unchecked and you're just pushing through it, number one, that's very dangerous. Today, people younger and younger are having heart attacks. I can't tell you how many people I heard of that had a heart attack in the last year and a half in their 40s. I know a bunch of you probably heard of people like that as well. That's because we're not paying attention to anxiety and stress in our heart, and we're just pushing through it, okay? Going to the gym is great, but it's not the long-term solution, okay? We do a ton of things to cope. We could watch TV, go to yoga class, do things. Yoga is great for your body and your mind. However, with this state of anxiety, that's more of a good maintenance. But if anxiety is high, you know what happens. A few days after the class, the anxiety always comes back. So how does it get from anxiety to depression? Well, anxiety, when it's left unchecked, it starts to spiral and accumulate and get worse, right? And then you start to experience hopelessness and overwhelm, okay? So the anxiety brings up those feelings of hopelessness and overwhelm when it's unchecked, and it goes on for a long period of time, okay? After hopelessness and those feelings are left unchecked, that's when depression could come in, okay? So I just wanted to clearly identify stress unchecked leads to anxiety, anxiety unchecked leads to depression, and how that actually works. Now, stress is gone, jumps right in the beginning phase, right? Jumps right in where the stress starts, right? With stress stopper breath work and getting you to release, your stress from there. So it doesn't even have the chance to get into and turn into anxiety. But for folks that are watching this for the first time, you might be in the anxiety phase already, very high there, or even in the overwhelm phase or the depression phase. Whatever phase you're in, this is going to help. I promise you. Okay. So now I want to share with you the anxiety release technique. All right. This is the technique that I developed in the beginning of the pandemic because the folks I was talking to, there was so much built up, right? So much anxiety, so much tension built up, and it was just accumulating and folks didn't have the time to release it or understand how to release it, right? So they were just pushing through it. And again, that's the very dangerous state to be in. A study came out of the University of London decades ago that said unmanaged stress reactions are a more serious risk factor for cancer than smoking cigarettes or eating high cholesterol foods. Now that's crazy to me because everyone in our country pretty much knows that smoking cigarettes leads to cancer. But did you know that unmanaged stress reactions was even a higher risk factor for it? So the answer to that question is most of us did not know that, right? Because it's not common knowledge in our country. So this is really important. I want to make sure everyone digest this and practice this. So we're going to do it together. So the anxiety relief technique is a set of simple questions that get you to express your anxiety and helps you get to the core fears that are feeding your anxiety, okay? Once you start to express the core fears that are fueling your anxiety, you start to feel the layers of tension unlock and release from your chest. You start to feel the stress leave your body. Your heart rate will start to relax. You'll feel a little bit raw because you'll be expressing real root fears, but you'll feel a big relief, okay? And when you do that, your mind is also going to clear. You won't be overwhelmed with all those stressful thoughts nonstop at night when you're trying to go to sleep. Okay. So let's jump right in. I want to share the process with you. Right now, if you could grab a pen and a paper, that would be great. You could take a moment right now to grab that, because I want to have you actually write down your answers so we could use that in the part where we're going to start to let go of the tension, the anxiety, and the stress. Great. So if you have a pen and a paper ready to go, the first simple statement, and this might sound funny, but I really want you to take this question seriously, is write down number one, and I want you to fill in the blank. Right now, I feel totally freaked out about, and then I just want you to start to list off all the things that are upsetting you. Okay. It could be one big thing. It could be 10 things. I just want you to get it all out. Okay. So I want you to just go on a stream of consciousness and just identify all the different things that are upsetting you right now. It could be finances. It could be job stuff. It could be family stuff. Just clearly write it out. Great. The next thing I want you to do is identify which of those things that are upsetting you is the most overwhelming, right? So number two is, what's most overwhelming me is, right? And then I want you to write out one from that list that is the most upsetting, the most overwhelming. Okay, so write that down now. That's number two. And then I want you to write because, and now just go on a stream of consciousness expressing why that one is so upsetting. So I want you to get your thoughts and feelings out about why that is upsetting. Great. So now what I want you to do is write number three. And I want you to write the worst case scenario of this is, and now I just want you to have a stream of consciousness and write out what the worst case scenario of that situation that's upsetting you is. So I want you to introspect and think. If someone's in the hospital that you love, what's the worst case scenario of that? If your company is doing layoffs, what's the worst case scenario of that? If you're totally overwhelmed with homeschooling your kids, what's the worst case scenario of that? Give another few seconds there. And number four is, my biggest fear around this is. Now I really want you to identify your biggest fear. You just wrote out the worst case scenario. Now take it a layer deeper. Good. Now, number five, I want you to clearly identify the area in your body where you feel the most tension, the epicenter of the tension. Sometimes anxiety, you feel it all over your body, but just try to identify as you're going through this exercise, if you feel where you feel the center of the tension is. Could be in your heart, could be in your solar plexus, your abdomen, your stomach, your throat, wherever it is, your head. And number 6 is I want you to clearly identify the emotion that you feel right now. Now, it could be anxiety, it could be fear, but it could be frustration, it could be sadness, it could be overwhelm. I want you to clearly write that down now. Okay, so if you did all that, right? Remember how I was talking about getting down to the root and digging down deep, tracing the root? Now we just trace the root pretty deep, okay? Now we're going to start to gently uplift it. All right, so I want you to put your right hand where you feel the tension. Okay, I want you to start breathing deep and slow. And I'm going to guide you through some affirmations that are going to help you unlock and release the tension at the roots. So the first one is, and I want you to repeat after me, I'm ready, willing, and able to let go of this core tension from deep inside my body. I am ready, willing, and able to let it go. I'm ready, willing, and able to let go. I can let go. I can let it go. I can let it go. I'm ready to let it go. All right, good. Now we can start doing the work. So breathing deep and slow, I want you to imagine embracing that tension, whether you feel it in the center of your chest or your stomach, embracing that tension with your breath on the inside while you embrace it with your hand on the outside. Okay? So this is very different than running away or running to something, reaching outside of ourselves for the answer. We're reaching inside, right, to embrace ourselves with this technique. So hands on the tension, breathing deep and slow. And then I want you to repeat after me and fill in the blanks. Okay, I'm ready to unlock and release all the tension from deep inside my, and whatever your answer to number 5 was. So if it was in your heart, you'd say, I'm ready to unlock and release all the core tension from deep inside my heart. And remember to breathe deep and slow, embracing the tension with your breath on the inside and with your hand on the outside. Very good. Keep doing that. And then you're going to say, I'm ready to embrace all the, and then insert the answer to number 6, the emotion. So if it's fear, you'd say, I'm ready to embrace all this fear on the inside out. I'm ready to unlock it and release it. As you're breathing deep and slow, you might feel a few layers unlocking and releasing from your chest, as your breath moves through it, nice and easy. And you're going to say, I really want to let go of my biggest fear. This fear of, you insert what the fear is eating me up inside, and I want to let it go. Breathing deep and slow. Feeling if the tension's moving anywhere. Sometimes if it's in your heart, it might move down to your solar plexus or your stomach. I just want you to move your hand there if the tension does move. And as you're breathing deep and slow, just bring your mental focus to allowing the breath to move through the tension on the inside of your body. As you do that, you get better and better at it. And you'll feel more and more of it unlock and release on the inside out. And then just say this core fear of, insert that biggest fear, has just been eating away at me. It's been outside of my control. And I just want to let it go. I would love to let it go. I'm here to let it go. I embrace my fear with my breath. I unlock it and release it from my chest, my heart, my brain, and all throughout my body right now. I'm ready to break free from that fear and be crystal clear. On why I'm here. So just continue breathing deep and slow, tracking the tension if it's moving around, following it with your hand and your breath. I want you to go to number 3. And just say, I want to fully break free from the worst case scenario and all the worries that come with it. I want to unlock and release all the inner tension that's fueling all these freaking worries inside me. I want to break free of all the anxiety, and all the old worries. Continue breathing deep and slow, just embracing the layers as they come up, not getting scared of them, but just like peeling an onion, right? We're getting to the source. Just allow the layers to come up. Breathe deep and slow. Allow the breath to go underneath it, to unlock it and release it from the inside out. And then just say, I really want to always remember that I'm cared for throughout this process and throughout all times. help me remember and always recall that I'm cared for throughout this process and throughout all times. Okay. So at this point, right, what I would do if you feel emotionally raw, you could use stress stopper breath work. Okay. Going to do a quick high level review of that right now. Basically, you would just touch the tension in your body, start breathing deep and slow, and once per breath, silently say the words, I'm okay. So if you're feeling emotionally raw inside, you can put one hand on your tension and the other hand on your belly button. Okay, it's a very grounding position to ground your energy. And you could breathe into any emotional rawness that you might feel from doing the exercise. It's totally normal because you're being available to a lot of these thoughts and feelings and fears that have been kind of like held down for a long time. So we're letting them up and out. So in essence, this technique helps you express your anxiety and your stress so that you could vent that teapot, okay? So you won't boil over and burn out, okay? Life is stressful. This time in history might be one of the most stressful times in history. And we got to get good at this, right? So I really want you to take this on, right? So just a quick review. The first component is writing out what you're totally freaked out about, right? Then, like writing out all those things that may be upsetting you. Then number 2 was identifying the one that's most upsetting, right? Then you want to write out what's the worst case scenario. That's number 3. Number 4 is writing out your biggest fear, right? Number 5 is IDing the area of tension in your body. And number 6 is identifying that core emotion that's fueling it. And then we just work backwards, okay? Using the affirmations, unlocking and releasing, touching the tension, breathing into it, allowing the airflow to embrace the tension on the inside out. And just unraveling and unpacking the roots of the anxiety, okay? So my coaching goes a layer deeper. This is the technique that you could manage and really do a great job at reducing your own anxiety. This technique is a life changer, game changer, whatever you want to call it. It will change your life if you take this on and do this whenever your anxiety starts to build, okay? Stress stopper breath work also is a game changer and life changer. So you have the ability now to break apart that cycle, the stress to anxiety to depression cycle, right? So you could stop the stress with stress stopper breath work, and you could vent all the anxiety with the anxiety release technique. Now, what the coaching does is sometimes anxiety comes from an old memory, like an old traumatic memory, an old traumatic relationship or an experience, an event, or a time in your life that was really stressful that you never processed and released the tension from those memories. The coaching dives deep down into those memories, wipes clean all the anxiety out of those memories, washes you through with your own divine essence, okay, and really reconnects you with your spirit, cleanses through the tension and releases it from your body, and really clears your mind so you can perceive reality without being so triggered, right? So it really is like a refresher, right? And you really feel reconnected to yourself. So that's the difference between using these techniques and actually the coaching. Right now, I'm going to do a meditation that will be a nice piggyback on the exercise that you just did. So I would love for you to take a few minutes, get really comfortable. In my meditation class that happens Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern time via Ring Central right now. We do this meditation for about a half hour, 3 times a week. So I want to give you a little taste of that. So I invite you to lie down on your back right now, get really comfortable, or you could sit up straight. Also, just find a really comfortable position. Close your eyes. Place one hand on your heart and your other hand on your stomach. Begin breathing deep and slow. Really feeling the airflow fill up inside your body. And gently letting it go as you exhale. On your next breath in, I want you to bring all of your attention right to where the airflow softly touches the very tip of your nose. Breathing deep and slow, following the airflow in as it moves through your sinuses, opening them up wider and wider, making each breath easier and easier to breathe. Breathing deep and slow, following the airflow a little further, allowing it to unlock and release all the tension from behind your eyes. Breathing deep and slow, following the airflow all the way towards the back of your mind, unlocking thoughts and worries so your brain can just unwind. Breathing deeper and slower, following the airflow down into your throat, unlocking and releasing tension from anything you ever wanted to say. Unlocking and releasing tension all throughout your neck. Remembering I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. Breathing even deeper and even slower, following the airflow down into your lungs as they fill up with life force, allowing that life force to unlock and release all the tension throughout your chest, breathing deep and slow, allowing the life force to go directly to your heart, allowing the life force to gently move through all the things that ever bothered you, unlocking and releasing all the tension from every single part of your heart right now. Breathing and receiving more and more life force for as far as the eye can see, in a wide open space. Completely free. Breathing in and receiving your very own divine essence. Filling up every cell on every breath. Breathing and receiving your own divinity. Always remembering the way to this peaceful inner place, touching the tension, breathing deep and slow, and remembering to say, I'm okay. I'm okay. I am okay. And using your imagination to visualize the room you're in, seeing the floor, the walls, the ceiling, and the door, starting to feel your body weight in space, right where your skin meets that surface you're lying down on or sitting in. Allowing your very next breath to fully pull you into this very moment. Allowing that life force to fill up inside your chest and fill every single cell in your body effortlessly as you breathe deeply and slowly. And starting to wiggle your fingers and your toes, your ankles and your wrists, your knees and your elbows, your shoulders and your neck. And open up your eyes when you're ready. So that was a meditation that kind of coincides a little bit with the exercise that we did earlier. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the meditation. I hope that you feel much less stressed and anxious right now than you did going into our first Stress Is Gone show. And I encourage you to tune in every single Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And also check out brettcotter.com. That's where my coaching is. And this was a great first show. I feel if you went through the exercises and went through the guided meditation, you got a taste of what my classes are about. And this is what I want to share with you guys. So please tune in and invite anyone to the group, the Release Stress Now with Brett Cotter group, that you know might be struggling with stress, tension, anxiety, all the above. And also we have a 1-week retreat coming up at the Omega Institute in a few weeks. So that's also on the brettcotter.com website under programs. So you see that, and that's free for first responders, frontline workers, and veterans. Okay, so the tuition is waived. You just got to find your own lodging. All right. So much love. God bless. Hope this helped you release the stress and anxiety, and hope to see you soon. Bye for now.